All right. I do thank you for checking out the previous video. If you did, in the previous video, when we went over how to set up your virtual network and went over a few things what you need to create your virtual network. In this video, we're going to cover how to set up your virtual machine. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and create a virtual machine. And what we're going to do, we're going to go up here to our search bar. And I'm gonna go ahead and click on virtual machines, since this is one of my recent services that I've went into. If you want to, you could do like I said in the previous video. You need if it doesn't show up there, you go ahead and click virtual and click right here where it says virtual machines. It'll take you there. We have no virtual machines currently in this account, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and create a virtual machine. And think of a well, for you guys that's been in IT for many years, you already know what a virtual machine is. So I don't need to explain for you guys, but the people that are new, virtual machines is just basically a virtual computer that's on the network. That's in Azure in this particular situation. And a virtual network, if I didn't explain in the previous video, it's just basically you creating your private network within the Azure cloud. That's it. All right, so once again, like in the previous video, in the virtual network video, we see that we got to do a couple of things. We got to tell Azure what subscription it's going to belong to, which in this case, we're going to basically the subscription, like I said in short, is who's going to be paying for this, because you got to pay for the virtual machines when you use them. And then also we got to select the resource group. In this case, I'm going to select our DAM demo resource group. Um, resource group. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give our virtual machine a name. Once again, sticking to naming conventions. I always name my machine VM, and we're going to call it lab. We're going to call it Linux lab. So, and we leave it at that, and we're going to leave our region as the default. The region that is selected, because basically all it's doing is just basically using the same region that the resource group is currently in. So I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to leave that for right now. We're not going to select any availability options, because we're not going to make it part of no availability sets or anything like that. We don't need a scale set, which you'll cover some of those in future videos. And you can select the image. If you select the image, you go ahead and you can select what image you want. I may stick with Red Hat. I might go ahead and go with CentOS for in this video. But yeah, you can select whatever image you want. If you don't see the image there, you can just go ahead and click here and see all images, and it will basically take you to Azure Marketplace, and you can see all the images within Azure, and you can just select whatever image that you wish to use. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to select um, the Red Hat one, and the next thing I'm going to select is I'm going to select the size, which in this case is just basically the uh how many virtual CPUs and virtual RAM do you want with this machine. So in this case, we're gonna go ahead. Like normally by default, if you just created your account for the first time, Azure will always go ahead and it will basically have another instance here, not the standard V1S. It's not, it doesn't have that. The reason why is because for some reason Azure wants you to go ahead and pay $87 for a standard D instead of standard B. So if you're creating a virtual machine for the first time and it doesn't show this $9 a month one, then go ahead and just click right here where it says see all sizes. Click there, and you see that this is the one that usually comes up there is the DS1. I think V2 or V3, one of the two. No, it's the V3. So this is the one that usually is coming up there when you first start Azure. So what you want to do, if you want to just filter up here, just type in BS1, B1S, I mean, or you can just go ahead and just go right here to the bottom, and you can see that this one says $9.05, and you see this one that says $4.50. You go ahead and test one of those and just see if it works for you. And I'll just go ahead and select this one, which is the B1S, and I'll hit select, and there you go. It should come right here when you select the instance, when you select the the size that you want. Now you choose how you want to log into this machine. Do you want to log in using SSH keys, or do you want to use a password? In this case, I'm going to use SSH keys, and I'm going to go ahead and let Azure go ahead and create the key for me. And then we're going to scroll down. We're going to go into our inbound port rules, which pretty much this is our network security group. We're going to be setting the ports that we're going to allow onto that we're going to allow on this instance. I mean on this virtual machine. And what we're going to do, I'm going to leave port 22 open and just leave that open to everyone, to the world on purpose, because this is just for testing. Um, by rule of thumb, you never want to leave port 22 open to the world. Even when you're working in an actual environment, what you want to do, if you want to go ahead and make some rule changes later on in this, and just have it so that it's change the rules in it so that it's basically coming from your IP. Have it inbound via SSH from your IP instead of the world. Just way better secure. It's much more secured because you're the only person that can access that machine. Um, let's go ahead and continue on. Let's click on disks. This is another thing you want to watch out for when you're working with Azure. In Azure, what it does by default is sets the disk type to premium, and premium of course is the most expensive. So what you want to do, you want to select the drop down arrow here and select standard SSD, and it doesn't cost as much as it as a premium, but you'll be happy. Your pocketbook will be happy, because you selected standard instead of premium. And we scroll down here, and you select your encryption type. You can't turn encryption off in Azure because everything in Azure is encrypted by default, which is awesome in my opinion, compared to other platforms that I've used. So let's go ahead and go to networking. It already sees Azure already sees that we have a virtual network already in this region. So what it did was it automatically went ahead and selected those that virtual network and the subnet that we wanted. Here you have your public IP, which is dynamic, by the way. If you don't want a public IP on your machine, just go ahead and hit the drop down arrow, select none. But I'll keep one on there. Um, I'll leave everything else but the default and continue on. Go to management, and I'll leave monitoring disabled. I don't want monitoring disabled. And then what we'll do is, in advance, we'll go over like other things like bootstrap scripts and things like that in future videos, which we're going to do that. Go to tags. We don't really need tags. So you can use tags. Tags are good to help with better managing your resources. So let's say, for example, you got this virtual machine. You want to dedicate this virtual machine to your finance department and things like that. You just type in, environment, and you just put like finance or finance department or something like that. All right. So what you do, but I'm not going to use any tags in this video. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click review and create. If everything is good, then it should come up with this. It should come up with these terms and things like that, which I don't like that Azure does this. Uh, but other than that, if this validation checks out, all you gotta do is go ahead and hit create. But then also what you want to do, you want to scroll down, because Azure also gives you this little area right here where it tells you how much you're going to spend per hour on these virtual machines. Um, so let's go ahead. But also another thing that you could do, I didn't mention this one in the virtual network video, you could actually go ahead and you could uh, the download the automation script. If you wish to do things automatically, have it so if this is a type of virtual machine that you wish to deploy over and over and over again, you can download the template for automation purposes, and that will be something that you probably want to learn later on, uh, because it basically makes life easier when you can automate this whole entire task. All right, so Matthew, agreed to all the terms and stuff like that. The only reason it's giving me these terms is because uh, I selected a Azure, uh, I selected not a Azure, a Red Hat, uh, instance, a Red Hat image. But if you scroll down, there's a couple things you want to see. If you scroll down, you see that there once again Azure's complaining to me about the SSH being open to the world. Then we got all the summary of of our entire setup. So we have the whole entire summary there. If everything looks good to your liking, then just go ahead and click create. And then make sure you download your private key and store it in a safe place, because if you lose it, you lose access to your instance. I mean, yeah. So, well, what I mean by instance, your virtual machine. So let's go ahead and download it, and I'll go ahead and save it. And it's initializing the deployment. And what you could do, you go ahead and return to is well, it actually automatically took me to return to VM creation. And and usually it takes a good minute to spin up a virtual machine. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pause the video right here, and I'm gonna come back once the deployment finishes. All right. All right. All right. So now the virtual machine has completed. It's has completed its installation. Well, it's has completed. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and we're going to once again go to our demo, or our DAM demo resource group. And you see in the resource group, you see we have everything that pertains to our virtual machine inside of this resource group. Now, for those who just want to figure out, how to set it up so that the network security group uh, is able to use your IP, all you do is go here to the network security group, and you just go ahead and you just go right here, try to edit it. Let me go back. All right. So you just click on it, and what you do is you want to have it so that it goes to your IP address. You just go here and you just basically go to IP addresses and you just enter your IP into the system, like your public IP address, if you wish to do so, and just go ahead and set it to just basically set destination to anything within the Azure portal, and just go ahead and just click save. That's one way you could do it. Um, that's one way I do it all the time. But other than that, you go down to inbound rules. Like I said, you go and check the inbound rules here, and you can go ahead and edit them. You can check your outbound rules. You got your network interface on this virtual machine. You also got your subnet that you're associated with. Well, that this network security group is associated with is which is not. It's not really connected to any security group. And also, I meant to say this is a network interface that is connected to the virtual machine, but that the but there's no subnet associated with this security group, because this security group is connected to the virtual machine. So, but it doesn't mean that you cannot associate it with a subnet. It's just that right now there's no point in me doing that because it's already connected at the instance layer. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to overview. Like I say, you see your network security group and the rules that it has. Let's go back to create a virtual machine. We go back and go back to our demo, and we go to our virtual machine, which is right here in our overview tab. Go ahead and click on that, and we see a few things. We see that it did install correctly the correct instance, the correct image, well, operating system in this case, and also it gave the correct size, and also gives a public IP address, which once again, like I told you guys before, that this is dynamic. You get a static IP if you want, but I'm just sticking with a static IP for right now. All right, so we see that as part of the correct security, correct network, uh, the correct virtual network and subnet. But let's do another thing. Let's check to make sure. Let's check to see. There's another way you could check to see if the instance, if there's if the instance is properly connected to your virtual network. And let's go to virtual network and go back here to connected devices, and you see your instance right there. But anywho, let's go ahead and try to log into this machine. What we do is we'll go here and we copy our public IP, and we go to PuTTY. If you open it, I'm using PuTTY for those who use Windows. You go ahead and put the IP address here. And before I do this, there's another software that you want to use beforehand, but I'm going to show you the reason why you want to use that software, because sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. Now, the reason why I say this is because, like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But let's go ahead and look at this. You go to SSH, you go to auth. I like allow agent forwarding. I know I like doing that a lot. So let's go ahead and hit browse. And you notice that when you downloaded your key, Azure gave you a PEM file, PEM. Now, PuTTY sometimes take this. It does take this sometimes, but often it doesn't. Depends on how PuTTY feels at the time. 'Cause I know on AWS I used PEM keys and it worked sometimes, and other times it does not. But let's go ahead and use this PEM key, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just go ahead and hit open, hit accept. And it said it gave you the error right there. That's the error that I would normally see using PIM keys sometimes. And that'll say it's unable to use the PIM keys. So let's use the Azure user that we've created. And it's gonna say no, we don't have access and all this other stuff. So to save yourself some headache and add a few more years back onto your life, just go ahead and let me go ahead and bring PuTTY back up. And what you do is you go find another software called PuTTY Gen. And it should be installed with PuTTY. And what you want to do, you want to hit load. You want to go ahead and go into your, now I know this folder is called AWS stuff, but that's because I do a lot of things in AWS. I have an AWS lab as well. And just like I have an Azure lab, I have two Azure environments, both production and dev. And this one, just same thing with AWS. So, and I've just put my Azure keys and my AWS keys in the same area for some reason. Don't know why, but it's just, and I could just put them in some way. I could have just said stuff, key pair stuff, but that just was just lazy. So what you do is just go to your key that you have. And in your case, you go to the area where your key is downloaded. Just to let you know, my keys already have it, so it automatically goes into my into this AWS stuff folder. So in your case, it might be in your downloads. So let's go ahead and select our key that we've created. And PuTTY likes it. It's like, oh yeah, wow, that's nice, great, and stuff like that, right? So what we do, we take that and we just save a private key. You want to protect it? No, just go ahead and do it. So let's go ahead and go to all keys. I want to give it the same name. And what I want to do, I want to take this .pim out of it and make it a .ppk. Save. And we can go ahead and go back here. Go to SSH, go back to PuTTY, go to SSH, go to auth, allow agent forwarding, browse, look for your key you just made, your PPK you just created, which was this one right here. Hit go ahead and select it. Go back up here to sessions. You close this out now. We go ahead and click get our IP address. Go back to PuTTY, paste it in there, and then we go ahead and we just hit open. And there you go. That's actually the window that we want to see right there. You see how we have this login as, no errors or anything. So what we're going to do is type in Azure user, which is the username that we created, and we're inside our machine. We're inside our virtual machine. And you can basically run Linux tasks. You can go run IPA. You can basically look at our IP addresses. You can go ahead and run. You can even run ping command to see if it connects to pingsgoogle.com, and it does. and everything of the sorts. So that's pretty much it regarding this video regarding being able to connect to your instance. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and shut this instance down. We're going to go ahead and go back into the Azure portal. We're going to look at a couple other things that you could do with your that other areas that you could do with your you could other areas you could other things you could do with your VM with your virtual machine. So we can go ahead and shut this down. And I'm going to do sudo because I don't have root permissions. All right, so let's go back in our virtual network. Well, this is the this is the VM. This is the virtual machine. So here you could do a couple of many things with this virtual machine. One, you could do access control. You go ahead and select access, give a particular person or particular service access to your to this virtual machine. You can put tags on it, like I told you before. This instance is supposed to be um, dedicated to your finance department. You basically just put environment, then put finance. It's better for managing your instances, especially if you're going to be using the same security group for everything. You can look at your how to connect to the device. I didn't even show you this earlier because I already knew how to go into it. So it just basically tells you how it tells you how to log into the instance for SSH or RDP, and also your bastion. You can select your disk. You could check your disk size and things of that nature, your maximum IOPS that you have, and your encryption type, and also your read and writes. You can also check check the instance type sizes. You can even change them if you want to. You can change it. You can like if I want to go up an instance size, I can go ahead and go select this one, hit resize if I want to, which I'm not going to do that. Uh, you could check continuous delivery, which is basically dealing with GitHub and things like that, GitHub services and things of that nature. Then you got availability scaling, which we'll go over that in several other videos. But other than that, let's go ahead and go into our demo. We're gonna go over cleaning up your your Azure environment, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna cover. And what we do is we're gonna cover getting rid of everything in your Azure environment. So, well, not getting rid of everything, but basically properly managing things in your Azure environment. Because you gotta remember, you're paying for everything within Azure. Uh, you're not paying for the virtual network, but you do pay for other services within the virtual network. But we haven't set up none of those services, so we're not going to get charged for the virtual network. But however, we are getting charged for this virtual machine, and even though the machine is off, we're still going to get charged for the storing of that virtual machine. So because it still takes up space, and also for the disks that we're using. So this is what you do. If you wanted to get rid of this whole entire, get rid of all these things, um, all these uh, all these items that pertain to the uh, to the virtual machine. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of everything pretty much. So what we do is you could do two things. You go ahead and delete the resource group, which all you got to do is put the name of the resource group and it will delete everything within it. Or do what I do normally if I want to keep it, because like I said, I use this for demoing and also testing purposes. You go ahead and just go right there where it says name, select everything. And if you want to deselect some things, deselect the virtual network if you wish to do so. And we'll go ahead and we just delete. And I'll keep everything. As a matter of fact, yeah, I will go ahead and keep the virtual network. You don't pay for anything in it. So we'll go ahead and I'll remove everything pertaining to this virtual. And actually, I'll keep the key pair too. Might as well. So once again, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and get rid of everything except for the virtual network and the key pair. And we'll go ahead and click delete and just go over here and hit yes and click delete. And once this completes, you pretty much have deleted everything pertaining to that virtual machine, and you will be good to go. So just it takes a minute for Azure to delete things. Um, Sometimes it takes about a couple of minutes to do that. But resource groups are just to bring to your attention that resource groups is a great way for managing all your items and your services within Azure. And you just want to make sure that's a great tool for the user. You want to make sure that you know how to that you because resource groups I use several resource groups in my lab environment, especially like I said, this one's my lab. So I keep many ones. I keep one for WordPress, one for uh, demos like this and things like that. Especially if I'm looking at tutorials online or looking at videos online myself, and just like or let's say if there's something I don't know and I'm looking at a YouTube video, I come here and I try it out first, not in my production environment. That'll be silly for me to try something that's that's production in my production in my production. I mean, that's testing. Do something that's for testing in my production environment. So, like I said, it's still taking a while for Azure to delete these things. We're still waiting to get our confirmation regarding that. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and I'll pause the video, and we will go ahead and pause the video. And once when they finish deleting, we'll go ahead and close out. All right. All right, so it didn't take that long. Actually, as soon as I paused the video, it went ahead and deleted everything. But we see we got our success that all 5 items selected has been deleted. So other than that, that's pretty much it regarding this video, regarding this series of how to set up a virtual machine and virtual network within the Azure portal. If you have any, if I have, well, pretty much that's just it. So other than that, I will see you next video. If you're watching this video on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that like button if you like these videos, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.